You looking at me? See my head? Okay, good. All right. Okay. All right. Take 3. Hey, folks. This is Rack James from ORS Racks Direct in Vermont. Springtime in Vermont, mud season in Vermont. We're going to do an installation on this lovely 2013 Forester right here. I swear I washed this morning. But when you live on dirt roads in Vermont during mud season, this is what your car looks like in the middle of the day. Anyway, the top of the car looks a little bit better, and we're going to install the new Yakima TimberLine Towers and Crossbar onto the raised side rails on this Forester. We got one bar kind of partially installed now, but I'm going to kind of quickly walk you through the crossbar options and show you the new TimberLine tower, and then we'll show you how to install it. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy installation, and the TimberLine tower is for, again, vehicles with raised side rails where, like a railing, there's a gap underneath the rail. The TimberLine tower is part of the new StreamLine series of crossbar systems from Yakima. They went back to the drawing board and redesigned all their crossbar systems. So they are phasing out the Q tower, the control tower, and the RailGrab tower, which is what the TimberLine is replacing. So the RailGrab tower used to attach to side rails with a claw that kind of tightened on the inside of the side rail, but the TimberLine tower uses a flexible steel rubber-coated strap, which gives you a 360-degree hold. So it's a really, really solid grip, and it's a much more, modern-looking tower, and it works with their new aerodynamic crossbars as well as the standard round bar. So there are actually 3 crossbar style options that you can choose from when you're going with any of the new StreamLine towers, and the TimberLine is no exception. So let's look at those crossbar options right now. So first of all, you can still use the old round bar. There it is. You do need to, if you decide to use the round bar, you got to go with the round bar SL adapter, which is sold separately, but there it is right there. And I'll show you how these adapters attach to the towers. But you can see that basically the bar is going to go through that piece right there, and this is going to tighten down on top of the tower and become round bar compatible. The other option, another option, is the CoreBar. This is a steel aero bar. It's the only steel aero bar on the market. All the other aero bars, including the JetStream Yakima bar, are made of aluminum. This one is made of steel, so it's really, really durable. It's a vinyl wrap on it to keep it from corroding. It's a nice, solid, aerodynamic bar. Does not have a T-channel, however, so it's going to only work with clamp-around accessories that are, universal or able to fit onto an aero bar such as this. It's a lot like a factory bar, actually. A lot of factory bars don't have a T-slot. But anyway, that's the CoreBar, and that has its own adapter, which does come with the bar. When you choose the CoreBar, you get the adapter with it. And then finally, you've got the JetStream bar, which is available in 2 colors, black and silver. The JetStream bar does have a T-channel running along the top, and Yakima has inlaid the rubber strip, which is really convenient, so you don't have to cut it when you are sliding in T-slot accessories. The bar itself, really cool teardrop shape. It's got a little, I don't know if you can see that little edge running along the front, but that actually helps to diffuse the wind a little more, so it's really, really, really quiet. And then there is a channel running along the bottom, the entire length of the bar that the tower attaches to. And I'm going to pull this strip out so you can take a look at this for a second. But the fact that the channel runs the whole length means that you can basically go with much longer crossbar lengths than what might be recommended for your vehicle. A lot of aero bar options, you're kind of limited to one aero bar size because the channel only goes in about 8 inches, so the foot can only slide so far. So if you want a longer bar, oftentimes it's not an option. But with this style, you can go as long as you want, which is pretty cool. And the same goes for the CoreBar, since the CoreBar, uses just like a through clamp. So again, you can go with the longest crossbar you want. They can be sticking out a mile on each side if you so desire. Other than that, you got 2 options for the JetStream bar, black or silver. I started out installing the black one on the Forester over here, so I guess we'll continue with the the black. Okay, so quickly, let's look at the TimberLine tower up close. This is pretty cool. So there it is again. When you get this in the foot pack, you got to pop the, just pull the locking cover off. And by the way, that does accept the Yakima SKS lock cores. So they're sold separately, but if you want to, once this is installed in your vehicle, lock it to the side rails, you buy a 4-pack of SKS locks. The lock cores go right in there, and you can lock the cover so you can't access the bolts that loosen the tower. To remove it, your crossbar system is locked to the vehicle. When you get your tower, it's got this little handle here to pull the strap away from the tower, but it's packed pretty tight. So the first thing you got to do is loosen this bolt right here. Quite a few turns, and as you loosen it, you'll see it kind of back out, and you can push it, and that's just basically giving you more strap length on the back side here. See that? And once you get to a point, then you can easily pop that off. Now, you're not done, because in order to tighten the bar adapter onto the threaded bolt that's part of the tower, you got to get this bolt out of the way. So you got to back it off quite a bit, and I'm just going to do it by hand and so you push the strap as far forward as it can go, and then I'm just backing that out with my hand, and it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but now at this point I can see the head of the bolt, and I can get my provided torque wrench into the bolt, and I'm ready to attach my bar adapter. So since we're going with the JetStream bar, I'm going to go with the JetStream adapter. Again, there is a round bar adapter. Pops on and you tighten it. There's the CoreBar adapter. That pops on and you tighten it. And finally, there's the one that we're going to actually tighten, the JetStream adapter. So you just basically, it's made of 2 pieces. There's this metal piece with the threads, and there's this plastic base piece. So the first thing you do is you put that in and you kind of push it down until you hear it click. Did you hear that click? Did you hear that click, Jimmy? Good. Okay, great. Once it's clicked, then you drop your metal piece down, and you take your provided wrench, and you make sure again that that bolt is out of the way, and you have access to the head of the other bolt, and you just start to tighten until you feel some resistance. There we go. And then you just keep going until it clicks. Right there. It's a torque wrench. So that's as tight as it needs to be. It's perfectly tight. It's perfect. No guesswork. It's great. All right. Then you need to take your wrench again. And there is a bolt. Again, this bolt right here is for tightening the strap. But there's a second bolt right there. And that bolt is the one that raises and lowers the adapter. So once you slide it onto the bar, you turn that to tighten it. Now here's what happens, and this is where the instructions are a little, I had trouble with. So by tightening and loosening that bolt, this plate is going to go up and down, and when you tighten it, it's going to effectively tighten the crossbar against the tower. In the instructions, it tells you to level that plate with the plastic piece. But unless we're doing something wrong, we've tried this many times, and we're pretty smart, especially myself. When you level that metal piece with the plastic, it just doesn't want to slide on very smoothly. So we have learned that we like to put that metal piece a little bit higher than the plastic piece. Maybe about like that. It just goes on easier. All right, so let's see if I'm right. Okay, now we got the top of the bar, and the front edge of the bar is this, just like an airplane wing. So it tapers toward the back, okay? So we flip it over. We're going to pull this rubber strip out for now, and we're going to see how easy these slide on. We want to make sure that we put them on the right way. So again, this is the front of the bar. The tower is going to go on like this. So let's, and that just slides into the channel here. There we go. And then it kind of, like the rubber gasket on top kind of gets caught, but once it passes by, it slides on pretty nicely. So there we go, just like that. All right, and then the other one we got already, we were thinking ahead, we already set this one up, so this should slide on pretty easy. But again, that metal piece, when you hang it, it's just, you know, it drops down a little lower than that black plastic piece. And we just found that that makes it go on a little bit easier. I don't know what Yakima's going to say about that, but we tried doing it your way, Yakima, and it just didn't want to go. All right, there, done. Okay, so now they're on. Now, you are going to need to put the rubber strip back in. If you don't put this rubber strip back in, you're going to hear a horrible whistling sound. But it's going to involve a little bit of cutting. I guess you don't really know exactly where to cut until you mount this onto the side rail, tighten the tower onto the bar, then you take it off. And then, you know, these are going to stay put, and then you can cut your strip accordingly. So basically, it's just a matter of, you know, come on over here, Jimmy. Yeah, it's just a matter of, I mean, the strip will, so assume, like, just pretend for now that this tower is exactly where it's going to be once it's mounted. You just push the strip back in place into the T-slot there, all the way to the end, and then you cut it, okay? Then, with the slack that's left over, you fill these gaps here, but the only trick is you want to stay about an inch away from the end of the bar. So when you're using this strip, you pop it into the channel. You know, say if you were to trim it on the end, then you would want to peel it back a little bit and trim it about an inch closer, or maybe just, you know, forget that. Just take some scissors and trim it right about there, because the end cap needs a little bit of room to go on. Okay. All right. So I don't need to show you exactly how that works. I think I explained it perfectly clearly. All right. So then we got these on. They're still loose so that we can adjust and center the bar. We know that the blunt or rounded end is what goes first. So we come on over to our vehicle and we just drop it on there for starters. Now, it's always helpful to have an extra set of hands, but if you don't, well, then you just gotta, you know, walk back and forth across the vehicle. So there is a line right there, and that line needs to be centered on top of the side rail. So you don't want it on either side of the side rail. You want it right on the top, right in the middle, which it is. Okay, then you pull this guy over, kind of hook it on. Do the same thing on the other side. And then you can either eyeball it or measure the overhang so that, you know, you can get the ends even. All right, so, you know, I don't know. I'm more of an eyeball kind of a guy, so kind of looking like, yep, that looks pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Again, you can measure. But what is most important is that when you do tighten, that line right there is centered over the side rail. Okay, so let's now assume this is perfectly centered side to side. Now we're going to take our torque wrench again. There it is. And we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to, or use it in the same fashion as we did before, only with that top bolt, which that top bolt, again, what it's doing is it's tightening the bar onto the tower. So once this is tight, the bar cannot slide back and forth. It doesn't tighten the tower onto the side rail. That's what this bolt is for. But it does use the same torque. So you turn it until, you know, you feel resistance. And then at a point, it clicks, and that is as tight as it needs to be. And then, once you have made sure that, again, this is you know, even, the only thing to consider is the distance between these two bars should be at least 24 inches. You know, I could certainly put it back here. There's some exposed side rail if I wanted to spread out my crossbar, you know, for like a canoe or something. But, you know, for me, if you're for like a bike tray or a cargo box or ski carriers, you know, that's a pretty good distance right there. It's at least 24 inches apart, and, you know, let's call that good. All right, and then, so I'm going to go under this little loop here, and then, again, make sure that that line is centered. There it is, centered over the side rail, and you proceed to tighten. And, you know, you keep tightening and tightening and tightening. It's a lot of slack. You saw how long that bolt was and how we had to get it out of the way. So it's going to take a little bit to turn. There we go. There we go. Okay, well, yeah. Okay, once you have tightened your tower and you felt that click and that torque wrench, you know this thing is on there, it's not going anywhere. The last thing you got to do is just put on the end cap and the locking cover. So the end cap goes on, just like that. The locking cover as well goes on, and definitely recommend getting yourself a lock pack, as I mentioned. You know, it goes right into the lock cylinder there, and you know, protects your investment. Someone could come along and, you know, if they know what they're doing, they can pop this cover off. They've got a little wrench, Allen wrench, to, I think it's a 5mm, maybe a 4mm. But, you know, it's just a matter of spending a little bit of time to screw it off, and off the bar goes. So definitely consider getting yourself a lock pack to lock that on there. And if you don't need a lock pack to use it. The little plastic plug goes in there just to kind of keep things in check. So there it is, folks. The Yakima TimberLine Tower with the JetStream Bar, part of the new Yakima Baseline Crossbar series, replacing the Yakima RailGrab. So as always, thank you for watching. I'm Rack James from ORS Racks Direct in Vermont. Take care.